everyone. Taxpayer dollars should be used to make life better for the American people, to drive down the high cost of living, to fix our broken healthcare system, and to deliver a government that actually promotes the health, the safety, and the economic well-being of the American people. Instead, Donald Trump and his administration have been using taxpayer dollars to brutalize everyday Americans, kill American citizens, and violently target law-abiding immigrant families. It's unacceptable, it's unconscionable, and it's un-American. This administration continues to weaponize the Department of Justice, weaponize the Department of Homeland Security, weaponize the power of government to undermine the ability of everyday Americans to live their best life, because they're so consumed with jamming their right-wing extremism down the throats of the American people. We will not be intimidated by any of their actions. We will stay the course as it relates to making sure that we actually fund the government in a manner that is consistent with our values, consistent with the Constitution, and consistent with the to spend your taxpayer dollars on the other. Republicans, in their one big ugly bill, enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, ripped health care away from more than 14 million Americans, and at the same period of time, took $186 billion from SNAP, literally stealing food from the mouths of hungry children, seniors, and veterans. And in that same one big ugly bill, used taxpayer dollars to give the Department of Homeland Security and ICE a slush fund that's been used to unleash a killing machine in Minneapolis, using taxpayer dollars literally to kill American citizens in cold blood. That's what Republicans have done in their one big ugly bill. That's their policy. And Democrats are going to continue to push back aggressively against it. We want to make sure that the Department of Homeland Security conducts itself in a manner that elevates public safety, not undermines it. And the American people are demanding accountability, and that's what Democrats are going to deliver. Question?
Should we expect any sort of organized response from Democrats to the arrest of Don Lemon this morning, and what do you think that says about the Trump administration?
Trump administration has systematically targeted the free and fair press because they want to intimidate America and oppose anyone who is not willing to bend the knee to their extremism. We are not going to be intimidated at all. The free and fair press is central to the foundation of American democracy. Thomas Jefferson famously made that clear, that he would prefer a country that had newspapers over government as opposed to governments over newspapers. This is central to who we are as a country. And so Don Lemon, we know, is an accomplished journalist who was doing his job as part of the free and fair press. There's no legitimacy, no basis to Don Lemon's arrest, no basis to the arrest of the other journalists. And the American people are not going to stand for it. And House Democrats are going to stand up for them. And the rights of the free and fair press as central to American democracy and our values in terms of who we are.
But how?
I issued a statement as it relates to where we are right now. It just happened. And so we haven't had an opportunity, even as members of Congress, to talk to each other about next steps. But of course, next steps will be forthcoming.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. I'm sure you've been monitoring what's going on in the Senate. What's your reaction to the fact that there's not a deal yet with the government deadline looming? Do you have any plans to speak to Speaker Johnson between now and when the House gets back? And do you think that 2 weeks is enough time to negotiate the reforms that you're looking for? I know that there's a lot there. So
We have to deal with the issue of reining ICE and the Department of Homeland Security in with the fierce urgency of now. And a 2-week window will evaluate whether that's sufficient time, but there's urgency to dealing with this issue. Because ICE, as we've seen, is out of control, and the American people know it. The American people know that the Trump administration on all of the things has gone too far. And that taxpayer dollars should not be used to brutalize the American people, and in some instances, kill them. So this is something that has to be addressed. And, you know, Democrats in the Senate, led by Chuck Schumer, supported by the House, made a clear demand. Separate out the 5 bills that clearly have bipartisan support. And then separately, we can deal with making sure that ICE is brought under control in a variety of different ways, including our demand, which we will not walk away from, which is that judicial warrants should be required before ICE can storm homes and rip people out of their cars. Judicial warrants. The masks have to come off. And body cameras need to be turned on for everyone. There should be an explicit prohibition on the detention and deportation of American citizens, period, full stop. And lawless agents who are brutalizing everyday Americans and law-abiding immigrant families, targeting them violently in violation of the law, should be investigated and prosecuted independently of the Department of Justice. We cannot trust the Department of Justice. They're an illegitimate organization right now under the leadership of Pam Bondi and the direction of Donald Trump. And so, if anything, the events of today reinforce, as it relates to the Department of Justice targeting journalists and part of the free and fair press, that the Department of Justice cannot be trusted to freely and fairly work through the criminal justice system. And it reinforces our demand that agents who violate the law should be investigated and prosecuted independent of the Department of Justice and the Trump administration and state and local officials. It should be made clear that they have the investigative and prosecutorial authority to go after any rogue actors who are part of ICE, CBP, or the Department of Homeland Security.
Leader Jeffries.
Yeah.
Sir, thank you so much for your time. Could I ask you your reaction to the Republicans' new voter integrity plan, the mega bill, and are there any provisions that the Democrats could support there?
It's a dead on arrival bill. They know it. Listen, voter suppression is part of the Republican plan to try desperately to hold on to power. Republicans, since the beginning of this administration, have been losing elections all across the country. They've been wiped out electorally. The American people know that it's Democrats who are focused on making their life better, driving down the high cost of living, and fixing our broken healthcare system. And it's Republicans who have unleashed this extremism and brutality on the American people and this assault on the American way of life, our values, and our democracy, and have had enough of it. And so Republicans are playing games, just like was evidenced by the unprecedented FBI raid in Fulton County, Georgia. Republicans don't want a free and fair election because they know when that happens, and will ensure that it happens, they're going to lose. They're going to lose the House. They're going to get crushed all throughout America. So the latest voter suppression bill is not a serious thing. Let's just be clear about that. You're asking me a legitimate question, but it's an illegitimate